Hey everyone, welcome back to Dark Souls 2. We're back here in the Shaded Woods now because we're heading off to Aldia's Keep, and the only way to get there is to go through this place again. You have to take one of the forked roads that leads out like this to get up to a King's Gate, and that allows you to access Aldia's Keep. And obviously we see the lore implications here. We see that Vendrick even set up a King's Gate at Aldia's Keep to stop Nashandra from getting past there as well, along with keeping a few things inside that Vendrick did not want getting out, along with Aldia himself, who was a bit of a troublemaker towards the end. And I think Nashandra even talks about the Ancient Dragon as well, saying that it is something that isn't what it says to be. It's like a false idol that people in the shrine have been praising, and it's not a dragon at all apparently. What it is a creation of Aldia's that is made up of petrified dragon bone and then a soul of a giant. So the thing that claims to be a dragon is not actually a dragon at all. It is just another malformation that Aldia concocted in his lab. But even though that's the case, somehow it found its way to the Dragon Shrine and is now being hailed as something that it is not by the Dragon Warriors there and also the Drake Keepers. And I think the reasoning for Aldia and Vendrick wanting to make an ancient dragon as a facade is because a giant dragon guarding the Ashen Mist Heart would be something strong enough to keep it out of the wrong hands. And then again, the dragon has no real purpose of its own other than to guard that item. So it's only doing one job, and it's defending against Nashandra wanting to get at the darkness and to plunge the world into the Age of Man. But then the question also arises, why does the Emerald Herald have such a solidified relationship with the Ancient Dragon? That's just because they're both creations of Aldia, and essentially they're brother and sister. So just think of it like that. We'll talk about this more later when we actually get to the dragon area and meet the Emerald Herald there, because she has a few lines of dialogue that vaguely explain her relationship with the Ancient Dragon. Like she says, don't fear the thing that is in the shrine because it means you no harm. And she could only really know that if she had been in prolonged contact with it for some time in her life. So it's all really just implied, and you have to kind of read between the lines with her dialogue and with what she says, but it's all there if you take the time to look hard enough. Anyway, we're about to go into the courtyard of Aldia's Keep, and someone is waiting for us in this little shack, and that person is Lucatiel. So this is the ending to Lucatiel's quest line. She kind of gives up. She says that, well, you'll get the dialogue in a second, so I won't spoil it, or I won't spoil what she says. But we get her items, we get her armor set, and yeah, it's basically a... I don't know, to me it's not the ending I would have wanted for her questline. Like, it's a pretty depressing ending, if you think about it. And it's kind of not what her character deserves. Like, there was so much build-up to the end of this questline, and then she just gives up. She just stops, she just hollows, and... everything is in vain, it seems. But then again, I guess this is the Dark Souls universe, and no one really does get a happy ending, so it makes sense in that respect. Also, if you were wondering what those little enemies were, they're just petrification gremlins, and they're pretty much only seen here and in the Doors of Pharos. They are fucking annoying if you let too many of them on you at once, and they can petrify you really, really fast as well. So you have to be really careful when fighting them, and that's why I was looking through my inventory before to see if I had the Ash Knuckle Ring, but unfortunately I don't have that yet. And here I'm just looking at the malformed skull because it just gives us a bit of information on what was going on with the experiments in Aldia's Keep during the time when Aldia was still in his corporeal form. But anyway, here is Lucatiel. We are about to get her dialogue, her weapons, and her achievement, so I'm just going to be quiet for a second.
Who are you? Oh, no, forgive me. I know you. Yes, of course. How goes your journey? I know not what you seek in this faraway land, but I pray for your safety. Please take these. Consider this thanks for keeping me sane. My name is Lucatiel. I beg of you, remember my name, for I may not myself. My name is I beg, for I'm...
So yeah, that's it. That is all she wrote. And now we're going to go up here, and we are going to get a bit more depressed because we are about to fight Aslatiel of Mirror, which is Lucatiel's brother, who has apparently given up hope and hollowed long before she has, and become a dark spirit that invades other worlds. And he chooses to invade our world, which is a bad idea considering the red iron twin blade I'm holding. But Aslatiel is also a bit of a conundrum because we don't know what happened to him after he left Mirror, and none of it is ever really explained. Lucatiel only really tells us of the time that Aslatiel spent with her while they were still in Mirror. They used to fence together, but Aslatiel would always come out on top, and Aslatiel was really the better swordsman out of the two of them. And as you can see, he wears the same attire as Lucatiel. There is literally no difference except for maybe the face mask, but that's about it. I can't actually tell if he's wearing the face mask or not, but I assume he is. But regardless, it seems as if Lucatiel and Aslatiel are to meet the same fate, even though they went down very different roads. It's a very sad and very unkind story, but it's also quite a short story, and there's not all that much to it in retrospect. I suppose Lucatiel's questline sort of does follow the same tropes that SotFS did in Dark Souls 1, even though it is different and deviates at some points, but basically a knight or an adventurer sets out on a journey to find something that they have been seeking for a very long time, but then in the end, they find out that what they are seeking has either been gone, never existed in the first place, or is not what they thought it was. And because of this, they decide to give up on their journey, they hollow, and then in turn they lose all sanity and become a dark spirit, invading and killing other people in their worlds, as Aslatiel did. And I suppose SotFS was a little the same, but he doesn't invade you, he just straight up tries to kill you in your own world, but that's only if you let the sunlight maggot attach itself to him. But anyway, what I'm looking at here is the skeleton of a dragon, whether it's an ancient dragon or something I can't say for sure, but it is alive. And in the original game, it would activate as soon as you entered the door, but in Scholar of the First Sin that is no longer the case. I was trying to figure out here how to activate it, whether you had to hit it, or whether you had to be in close proximity to it, but it turns out that these sconces here, the one that I just ran past, have to be lit for it to activate, and there are 4 of these around that summon dark spirits. But anyway, we're going to talk to Navlaan for a second.
Please, just stay away. No, please, don't come near me. Nothing good will come of it. Just leave me alone, please. Leave this place and leave me be, as I'd not see any harm befall you. Please. Please.
So, what we have here with Navlaan is essentially a Jekyll and Hyde situation. I don't actually talk to him in this episode as a hollow, or an undead, I should say. I don't talk to him when I die. Like, you have to come back and talk to him when you're undead, and he will have different dialogue. And these messages on the ground here are to tell you not to pull that lever, because if you do, it will release Navlaan, and then he will invade you all around the world at different locations. And he is a pain in the ass to kill. I mean, just imagine a dude using hexes all the time that can put you down to half health in like one hit. That's pretty much Navlaan invading you. Anyway, there are a lot of theories involving Navlaan, and no one really knows what the truth behind him is. At first, in the original game, when Aldia hadn't been revealed yet, everyone thought that Navlaan could be Aldia because Navlaan is 2 personas in one body. But now with Scholar of the First Sin being released, we can safely say that Navlaan is definitely not Aldia. But then that leaves the question, who is Navlaan? Is Navlaan the second persona, the Hyde character, or is Navlaan the initial persona, the Jekyll character. It could even be both of them, and they could both be Navlaan, just with two different mindsets. One when he talks to a hollow, or an undead, and then another one when he's speaking to a fellow human. So yeah, it's kinda hard to separate the truth from fiction with Navlaan. And Navlaan's second mindset, the evil Navlaan, really does try his best to win you over. He says that, oh, if you just go out and kill a few people for me, then I will reward you in the best way possible. He'll give you forbidden magic, armor sets, items, whatever you want, and he will tell you anything you want to know. Unfortunately though, our dialogue options don't really extend that far. But anyway, the theories surrounding Navlaan are not convoluted actually compared to most of the other theories in the game. They're quite plausible. One of the main theories surrounding Navlaan is that he used to be the owner of the big house in Majula, and he was the reason for the entire village of Majula being destroyed, essentially. As the theory goes, Navlaan started off in Majula studying all sorts of magic, and eventually found his way to forbidden hexes, and one of the forbidden hexes cursed him with a second self, and this second self then went on a rampage with those forbidden hexes, destroying anything it could find, and this led to the destruction of Majula. And Sweet Shalqua even backs this up a little by saying that Majula was desecrated and destroyed by something similar to what I've just mentioned. So then the question arises, how did Navlaan get to Aldia's keep, and how was he sealed away? I'm guessing that eventually, after the rampage that the evil side of Navlaan went on, the regular Navlaan took back control and then put himself at the feet of both King Vendrick and Aldia and asked to be locked away, both for the sake of himself and for the sake of the people of Drain Lake, because he obviously does not want to harm anybody, and it is only the evil side of himself that does. So yeah, that's my theory. So when he was conscious enough of what he'd done, and the normal side of him took back control, he basically turned himself in and threw himself at the mercy of his king. As I've said though, that is just one of many Navlaan theories, but that is the one that makes the most sense to me and sounds the most plausible. Anyway, if you've been too enthralled thinking about Navlaan and where he may have come from, and haven't noticed what I'm doing on screen, I am fighting Mirror Knights, or the knights that come out of the mirror, not the Mirror Knight himself, of course. And this raises another question. Why are these mirrors in Aldia's keep? And the simple answer to that is Aldia was the one who both crafted the mirrors to this other world and also created the Mirror Knight. So whoever the Mirror Knight is meant to be, whether it's Cyan or someone completely different, my guess is that Vendrick asked for a warrior that was undefeatable, and so Aldia created both the mirrors to that other world and then the Mirror Knight armor as well, and then placed a soul inside of it like he did with the Ancient Dragon, and then gave that to Vendrick to defend Drain Lake Castle. That is, of course, just another theory though, so take it with a grain of salt if you do want to believe it. And I will of course be coming back to do Navlaan's side quest. It's a really easy side quest to do, even without killing any of the actual people that he sends you to kill. And I think I could do it in maybe like a 5-minute video given editing and all that stuff. So we'll come back to that later, after I've finished the main game, and we'll do both the Abyss Covenant side quest and defeat the Dark Lurker, and then we'll also do Navlaan's side quest to tie everything up neatly for the main game. And then we'll move on to the DLC, of course. And now that I think about it, we're actually really close to finishing the main game, so there should only be maybe 2 or 3 episodes after this one. Maybe. I think it might be 2 if I end up making them pretty long. Like, the last 2 episodes may be about 1 hour each, and that should conclude the main game pretty well. So after that, there will just be like a 10-minute video or a 15-minute video for the Dark Lurker and the Abyss Covenant, and then a 5-minute video for the Navlaan side quest, which is really simple. Also, while I'm fighting this guy, I should explain their deal. These are the Forlorn. Now, they aren't the same as the Invader, that has invaded us like 4 times so far that is named the Forlorn. These guys are, well, think of them as like little baby Forlorn, kind of like that. Think of them as being sub-Forlorn. They're the ones that guard Aldia's keep if you light the sconces. They only appear if you light a torch and then light one of those pillars. And doing this activates the dragon, but I didn't know that yet. I was just lighting them because I thought they would drop something, or maybe they were part of the Forlorn invasion side quest, and killing these guys would get me more Forlorn items, but it turns out that they have nothing to do with that side quest or those invasions, and are simply here to act as activators for the dragon skeleton that is on the ground floor. So the Forlorn being here just push more into the fact that the Forlorn were creations of Aldia, which is actually confirmed in one of their item descriptions, or many of their item descriptions, I guess, since it should be in all of them. The lore of the Forlorn is basically that there used to be soldiers or knights or something along those lines that had their souls or their being ripped out of them, and now they are just bodiless suits of armor that now wander the world with no state of purpose or no state of being. And my thought process behind the Forlorn is just that Aldia was doing many experiments on the essence of the soul with Vendrick, so they were obviously like ripping souls out of people's bodies, and some of these people were most likely what became the Forlorn, and that is why they have no corporeal form and why they are just suits of armor. Anyway, now that we've gone through all that, you can see above that they've changed a few things in this area from the original game. So in Scholar of the First Sin now we have mimics in the roof, and we also have the malformed undead, and the way to get these guys out of the cages is very different to how it was in the original game. In the original game, you would break out an ogre, or you would aggro an ogre towards you, and the ogre would break open all the cages. But this time, there is a lever in the room to the right of me, past that wall, and that lever releases every enemy from their cage. And I do press it, and I had no idea what it did. But as soon as I walked outside, I got a bit of an idea of what it did, and I immediately regretted it. So I would suggest not pulling the lever in that room. And while we're on the subject of that room, the way to access it is to get the Aldia key and then unlock it. But the Aldia key used to be down there, or down here I should say, in the pit of acid that would erode your armor and your weapons, and you would have to strip naked basically to run and get it, lest your armor be destroyed and your weapons be destroyed, along with everything else you're wearing. And that key has now been moved. And that key is now literally impossible to get and to find if you don't know about activating the dragon skeleton in the main room. So to get the key, you need to activate the skeleton, and when the skeleton destroys itself, like it always does, the key drops. But how anyone is supposed to know that is beyond me. When you light the sconces that then cause the dragon to activate, you get punished for lighting them. You get invaded by the Forlorn members. And if they wanted you to light all of those sconces, they should be rewarding you instead rather than punishing you for it, because that stops the player from wanting to light more of them, as it stops me. And because I stopped lighting those sconces and stopped fighting those Forlorn members, I didn't get the Aldia key on my first pass through Aldia's keep, and that caused me to be unable to get into that room on the right hand side. And therefore that kind of halted the progress of this in-depth run, because I had to actually search up where the key was, and then I had to go get it, and then I had to come back to Aldia's keep and then go into that right-hand room. And that just slows everything down when they make changes that didn't need to be made, and put in kind of silly things like this that force the player to go on this little side quest to get a key that leads to things that are just going to be irrelevant anyway. I mean, the only things in that side room are souls and a mimic. That's literally all there is. It's not even worth going to the trouble of lighting these sconces and then fighting those Forlorn members to get the key. The only reason that I chose to get the key was to show you guys what the purpose of it is and what is in that room. Otherwise, if I was playing this without recording, I would just breeze on past through this level, get to the Guardian Dragon, and be done with this entire area in a matter of minutes. But because I'm doing this in-depth run, and I'm not complaining here, I like doing these videos, but it's Scholar of the First Sin's fault for changing things that just lead to things that really aren't worth it, like things that you just take one look at and be like, oh yeah, I didn't need to come in here anyway, why did I even go to the trouble of activating a giant fucking skeleton to get a single key? And it's things like that that just get on my nerves when doing a playthrough like this, because even though this was a blind playthrough of Scholar of the First Sin, I noticed so many things that just didn't need to be changed, and just for the most peculiar reasons as well, and it just didn't make sense to me. So yeah, it's just those things that kind of irk me the wrong way a little. But anyway, I'm going to get into the main lore surrounding Aldia's Keep now. So it's all pretty much been summarized in other videos by now, with me talking about the lore behind Aldia and the lore behind Vendrick. Basically, Aldia is Vendrick's brother, as we know, but he was eventually outcast by Vendrick because Aldia started doing experiments on both humans, undead, and creatures that became kind of frowned upon by Vendrick, and Aldia's experiments just started to waver from Vendrick's moral code. So because of this, and because of Aldia's rash actions, Vendrick chose to lock his brother away in his keep, where, well, it didn't stop him from doing experiments. He basically transformed himself into what we've seen already at the bonfires when he chooses to surprise the hell out of us by blowing us up, essentially. So Aldia and Vendrick were both studying a way to break the cycle and the curse of undeath. And I'm guessing that Aldia did find a way to break it for himself by discarding his human body in place for this one made of branches and trees, and essentially he gave up his branded body, the body that was branded with the curse, for this huge, monstrous manifestation of what he is now. That is the basic lore surrounding Aldia's Keep. These acolytes you see here were just the servants of Lord Aldia. They would help him with experiments, and by the looks of it, they would even prepare his subjects for experimentation. And this room, as you can see, I don't know if I turned around and showed you guys it, but if you did happen to see what was inside, it was a bunch of dead giants. So, as you can see, that's what they were experimenting on a lot. And the reason for all those dead giants is because Vendrick and Aldia were trying to both break the curse of undeath and to find a way to peer into the essence of the soul, which apparently Vendrick did. And that may have actually led to the creation of the Ashen Mist Heart, which is guarded by the Ancient Dragon. So what the Ashen Mist Heart does is it allows you to peer into the memories of those long gone. So in a nutshell, what it lets you do is peer into the essence of someone else's soul. And this is why I think the Ashen Mist Heart was a creation of Vendrick and Aldia's, and let me lay it out for you in a simpler way. So Vendrick and Aldia studying a way to both peer into the essence of someone's soul and break the cycle of undeath. They do end up finding a way to peer into the essence of the soul, thus, oh yeah, and I get eaten like a fucking Subway here. What a shame. Anyway, they found a way to peer into the essence of someone's soul, therefore creating the Ashen Mist Heart, which allows anyone to do the same. But this item, having this ability, was too powerful just for anyone to wield, so, therefore, they had to make something that was able to guard it. So came the inception of the idea for the Ancient Dragon. Vendrick had Aldia make a fake Ancient Dragon to house the Ashen Mist Heart and to guard it in the Dragon Shrine. And this fake Ancient Dragon then spewed forth a type of religion or a following that consisted of the Dragon Covenant and the Drake Keepers, who were most likely also placed there by Vendrick and Aldia, as they have a lot of similarities to the old knights in Hyde's Tower of Flame. And all this was done just so the Ashen Mist Heart could be kept safe from anyone who would use it for evil misdeeds. Say from someone like Nashandra, maybe? The Emerald Herald was most likely then created as a failsafe to this plan. The Emerald Herald was to help guide the next monarch, the next true monarch, to the throne. And that is why the ancient dragon hands over the Ashen Mist Heart so easily. In fact, he gives it to you without any hesitation at all. And that's because the Emerald Herald has told him that you are to be the next monarch. And in short, the Ashen Mist Heart is only to be given to the one that can succeed Vendrick, and who can take the throne in his place. And also just looking out on this wonderful vista, because it is fucking beautiful. Like, this is one of the most beautiful parts of this game, including the dragon area. I mean, when I got up to this part in my first blind playthrough of the game when it first came out, I just stood here for like a solid 2 minutes just looking out over this landscape, because it's just gorgeous. Anyway, we're about to go into the Guardian Dragon fight, and these dragons don't really have a lot of lore. They just serve as another roadblock for Nashandra, and then at the same time, also another test for the player to overcome so they may become the new monarch. This isn't actually even a dragon, this is a drake. A dragon has 2 legs and 2 arms, along with wings and a tail. So that's the distinction right there. Mind if I just put my nerd glasses on for a second? I mean, I already wear glasses, but sure, let's double up on nerdiness. But yeah, that's essentially what the difference is. And the ancient dragon, he is an actual dragon, without being an actual dragon at the same time. Man, this is starting to get really confusing. This is the ancient dragon is a dragon, but it's also not a dragon at the same time. You know what? Fuck it. You get the point. Basically, in Dark Souls lore at least, the drakes are not considered dragons, even though it is called a dragon here. They are kind of like cousins or brothers and sisters sort of things to the dragons and the stone dragons from Dark Souls 1. While they aren't in the dragon family, they still are of the same archetype. And that is why everyone can presume that they are dragons and can misinterpret what they actually are, which is not a dragon at all, in fact. There's kind of 3 different main sort of dragon type things. There's dragons, which are actual dragons, and then there's the drakes, which are what I'm fighting now, and then we have worms. Worms are basically drakes with no legs. And those are really the only 3 categories of open quote end quote dragons that I can think of. And I'm sure there's more, but those are the main 3 that we see in the Dark Souls series itself. Anyway, there we have it. This boss is really simple actually, and it should not have taken me 3 minutes. If I had my Red Iron Twin Blade upgraded all the way, and that poison would have stayed on longer, or if I would have had more poison to use on my weapon, that fight would have taken maybe a minute and a half at most. Because those drakes have next to no HP compared to many of the other bosses in the game. And also what we just picked up there was a dragon scale. Dragon scales are the currency that you need to level up in the Dragon Remnants Covenant, which I will go and join later. Well, I'll join it, but I won't do anything in it really, because it takes fucking forever to complete that covenant. You need to do 30 invasions and win 30 invasions in that covenant to get the full set of dragon armor and the weapon. But beside the point, here we are at the Dragon Area, and here is the Emerald Herald once again.
Bearer of the curse, long have I awaited one such as you. One who might shatter the shackles of fate. One who can set me free. Bearer of the curse, it was my own manifestation that led you here. The ancient dragon has watched over the world for eons past. Take this. Do not resist. The dragon welcomes you.
So, as you can see, she basically just backs up what I've said in this video, as we've discussed already with her dialogue. She also gives us the Aged Feather, which acts as an infinite homeward bone, which comes in handy a lot, especially if you don't buy homeward bones all that often. But for today, this episode has to come to an end, so once again, thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.